Hello and welcome to another session of the Bus Chat. And today we're going to be discussing the digital innovation in accounting and finance. My name is Tommie Edwards, and I'm the CEO here of Tedbree. And if you don't know what we do, Tedbree is a software engineering and digital marketing platform matching tech talents together to be able to work on tech projects within our hub. So whatever size of projects you have, be it a small project or a large project, Tedbree works for startups up to enterprise level, delivering digital transformation, working on software engineering and digital marketing to help you build, scale, and grow your business. So enough about Tedbree. Today we have two amazing, you know how we bring it for you. We bring amazing guests to you guys that not only are experts within their field, but these are seasoned professionals that have been there, have done that, understand what it takes, and understand and brings those knowledge right to the center, brings that to us here to enlighten us and allow us move forward and to understand how we could use technology in different industries. So today the industry we are focusing on is accounting and finance. And I have the amazing Indran and also Toyosi Akinfemiwa here to be able to enlighten us today. Thank you, Uma. Thank you, Toyosi. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Tommie, for introducing us.
Thank you, Toby,
Fantastic.
for having us.
You're welcome. So what I'm going to do is I will allow them to introduce themselves, like I typically like to do. But before then, I want to start with Uma and basically give you like a snippet of what this amazing lady does. So don't be deceived by how gentle she looks. She's a powerhouse and a firecracker, and we're about to see that. So Uma Indran, she's FCMA CGMA. She currently works with entrepreneurs and produces their strategic 3 to 5 year financial plan for new products and new market entry. So if you're a founder out there and you are kind of like lost, how do I get to produce my 3 to 5 year financial plan? How do I understand the cash flow within my business? We've brought you a seasoned professional to be able to help you with that. Uma, welcome to Tedbree Buzz Chat. And I would like you to fully introduce yourself so that people know who you are and exactly what you do.
It's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me, Tommie. What I do is I work very closely with the business leaders, the CEOs, and their other board members to produce their plans. I listen to their business, understand their business, and also I understand them as people. I usually have meetings before I get engaged on their projects. And from that, I understand what's driving them as well. And depending on their driver, and I get the feel for their culture, I will also suggest solutions as to how they could achieve their aims. For instance, just to take one suggestion, I met up with one entrepreneur who was already doing a business, which was B2C, and he was doing it very well. Successful, but it was small scale. And he already had a database and the setup, the telephone, people who take the phone calls and deal with customers. So that sort of call center, that arrangement also he had. But he was doing it in such a small scale. So I said to him, you can scale it up because you're internet based, you can reach a global market, you can get contracts with garages around the country, and that will give you the ability to spread your fixed costs, and hence economies of scales will kick in and you will make a bigger profit. Then from B2C you can go to B2B as well, because I had him about 10 years back. So I said to him, e-commerce is also growing, and this is another area that you could get into. But you need good marketing. I did tell, I'm not a marketer, so you do need someone with that skill set to come in and help you. So I produced his business plan and I showed how we could really improve his revenue and his bottom line significantly. And I produced his financial plans. for him 5-year plans. And also I got his actuals. After that, I immediately got his actuals to base it on. And I had several meetings to really understand the business. And therefore, after understanding, I put down all the assumptions to back up the plan, because a plan cannot just be put together, and what my projections are based on after having good. And when things cropped up as well, the government immediately brought in certain things that was going to reduce his profit margin, and not only his profit margin, it was going to be a big hit to his income stream and his profit stream. I immediately sort of said, are you aware of that? And do you know how we could mitigate this, or what shall we do? So because he knew the business, he came up with some suggestions. He himself knew it. So I don't know the business or the industry that well, perhaps, but I have a broader knowledge as to what's going on. So I have my broad knowledge and my finance, and to a certain extent, I'm good at Excel. So Excel skills were used in that project. And
Okay,
similarly, I
fantastic.
helped others. Yes.
Yeah, I can just imagine, because this is something that when like, so I'm not sure if you know. So we have different products, and we have different founders come onto Tedbree to say they're creating this. One of the core things that a lot of startups and things want to get is all about understanding the numbers. And when you're talking to big investors, angel investors, venture, they want to know that you are a numbers person, that you understand your numbers. So having someone like you in our corner is always very helpful, because then you know that, okay, all your projections are pretty much tip tap. And like you said, the example you were giving with the guy that is looking on a small scale, and you're saying, why not expand? Because you've seen the numbers, you fully understand that growing to a larger scale and moving, reaching a global market will allow them to expand, and leveraging technology in based on the internet, e-commerce, like you mentioned, and other areas will allow them to reach their goal faster. So that's amazing. Thank you so much for being here, and I'm
Well,
sure
thank you.
that we'll dive into your your expertise as we carry on the conversation. So now let's introduce my second guest. I hope you guys are excited already. And as you could tell from what Uma was saying, we're going to have an interesting time this evening. Because before I introduce my next guest, for anyone that is new to the bus chat, we have what we call the leaderboard. This is a very sought after aspect of our chat today. For the member of the audience that have been able to make it to this chat, I know some of you might be listening on the podcast right now, you're excluded. But for those that made it onto the live call itself, you have the opportunity to take home our prize of £50 today. And whoever ends up at the top of the leaderboard, it's somewhere to your right on the screen. Right now, I have Tinuola Alimat with 230 points, and Victoria Egwa is the second at the moment. So we need to see who ends up at the top. How do you end up at the top? Participate in the conversation, ask questions, like, use expressions, and let us understand that you are part of this conversation, so our guests can feel welcome. So I can't wait to see who is going to be the leader of this board at the end of the night. It's always exciting to see. So on to on to our next guest. Our next guest is Toyosi Akinfemiwa, and she is the CEO and founder of Elizabeth Roberts accounts. And it's a practice that brings fresh newness to accounting and business advisory. She's a chartered accountant, and she has a BSc in economics and MSc in finance. She's a really good numbers person, and I'll leave Toyosi to explain and describe herself, introduce herself to us, and let's see what she's going to be bringing to the table today as we discuss digital innovation in accounting and finance. Welcome, Toyosi.
Thank you so much, Tommy. Thank you for introduction and thank you for having me. I think you've said about a number of things about my qualification, but I'll just kind of come from the angle of what we do at Elizabeth Roberts Accountant and why Elizabeth Roberts Accountant was founded in the first place. Our passion really at Elizabeth Roberts is to focus on owner-managed businesses, basically entrepreneurs. because we know the frustration out there, because a lot of people out there are just there to just do what they love, and they can't be bothered with the numbers or the compliance bit. So we come in really as business partners to these entrepreneurs or these owner managed businesses, and we hold them by the hand. We just like sounding board. We can really be anything to the business as long as we make them grow. We're like sounding board. We listen to them. We help them with growth strategies on how what from one step to the other. So being a startup could be lonely, but we're there like outsourced CFO. So we take you all the way from your startup, from the business plan to your cash flow forecasting and planning to scenario planning, give you different scenarios of what could happen to your business and how you could tackle each one. So we are just we, the focus is really on owner managed business, but we also do a bit we do on individuals and charities, so you're compliant. So wherever you are and wherever you do business, for your business to grow, there's also called something called regulations. So we ensure you're well regulated, you don't have any issues with taxman, and all your reporting deadlines you don't miss and all of that. We really are there to just help you grow, to take away the pain and frustration. I mean, being a founder of a company myself, I know how frustrating it can be trying to be everything. But we are just there to take, all the numbers. We help you. Even we kind of project and we're proactive in seeing what could go wrong, and we could help you to solve those problems before they actually happen. Um, yeah, I think that's it for now. And I think as we go along, I'll tell you more about the Robots Accountant and what we do. Thank you.
All right, then. Thank you, Toyosi, for being here. And it's really amazing to have you on here as well. And I know you're such a busy person, so thanks for giving us the time to be able to have this conversation today. So,
That's
so
okay.
guys, how excited? Let's see your reaction. How excited are you now that you've heard the power crackers that we've brought in here today? It's like you see that there's just so much love for you guys in terms of what you guys
Um,
are doing. And I know that it's no name fit for you to come and give us your knowledge and talk to us about what is going on. But what we really want to discuss tonight is that the digital transformation is going everywhere. There's a whole
mhm.
digital takeover. The work that we typically do before is all everything is changing. I'll give you an example. Royal Mail is also adapting innovation, coming to your door to pick up the mail instead of you going there to drop it. Everyone is thinking outside the box. And I think accounting is not left behind. So I think my very first question, and I think I'll throw that to you at first, Uma. What are the innovation that you've noticed? And I know the vast majority, there's a whole lot happening. Within your field, within accounting, within finance, I know you work for a large corporation. What are the innovation that you've noticed that technology has brought, which are positive and is enhancing the way in which you do business?
Well, thank you for asking me, Tommy. This is not now because time technology is moving very fast. So pre-COVID, we already were in the cloud. The cloud has really enabled everything, all our sales, the whole of our accounting systems to be, and even when we sign contracts, e-signature, everything can be done online, banking online. So that's not something uncommon. So and we were working from, well, my direct report needed to work from home as we were already on the cloud. He was allowed to work from home, and then I also went in because it was quite a distance away, so went in only once a week, and that enabled us to do that. That was great. Secondly, what happens, so storage, printing, all those costs goes down. ESG, there's a big savings on ESG matters. And secondly, what now then another corporate that I worked in, we had a lot of interaction. It was fairly like a startup, actually. It was large organizations, but they were growing, and so but they had enough financial back. Well, this is a public sector, so the monies were there, and they had an IT department as well that helped. So all the people who wanted to become members, they would be putting their applications through into a portal, and then everyone could see that because we all had an input into assessing whether they are ready to be admitted as a member. So we had to do the finance department had to appraise them on the financial viability of their plans and on what they have achieved and all their background, financial. So all the various departments had an input into assessing whether they can be let in. So they all had access to that particular portal. And then another thing was we had Teams. So that was
Yeah.
like a one house thing. So we can easily go and chat with each other. We were all working in different locations and far away locations, so we were not close to the head office. And so we could easily have chat communications within us. We can be working on the same document at the same time.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of advantages of that, and data sharing, file sharing, all those sort of things was enabled. Third, what I could say was, so that was the main thing, the cloud. And also now from my point of view, because I had cut, I mean, this was well before COVID itself. Some of the people I had as clients were working in other countries. So I was able to use internet helped getting in touch and solving their business issues. So that's another great benefit. Globalization, bringing a larger market, um, and also working from home, which is a great benefit. And it's a
Yeah.
combination. Working from home, it's a combined. It was a combined work office as well as that. You were saying something, Tommy?
Okay. Yes, yes, yes. So I was just intersecting into what you're saying. So yeah, so obviously that goes without saying in terms of generally, um, what's it called? The leveraging technology, the vast majority of people saw how the length into at which technology advanced. It pretty much scaled itself during the COVID period, and every single industry, no industry was left untouched because you have to change the way in which you do business. You have to change since you if you want to stay connected with the world, then that means that you have to go either on Teams, go on Slack, go on. So lots of people had to start learning how to use different tools that they probably were not used to using, and you had to learn that on a fast scale. So I think to see if I'm throwing the same question to you, how would you think that technology has really helped accounting and finance, especially in today's world? And this is looking back. You could look back as far as you want, but I'm saying in the last post-COVID or before COVID, what are the key things that you can point at and say, if not for technology, we probably wouldn't be doing this. And has that really helped in one way or the other?
Okay, thank you, Tim. As I won't really go much into the cloud system because Uma has mentioned that, and we know cloud. Everybody's working from the cloud now. But I'll mention a number of introductions that was done by regulations, which was enabled by technology. So, for instance, we have what we call auto enrollment as an industry, which allows you to have like real time access to your pension. So you can just generate your pension is another like software that they use to calculate your pension from your payroll. And we have real time information which we use for payroll. So now we can do payroll pretty much from anywhere, and you can, and then you can so access that even the employee can have real time data. So like before, instead of sending maybe pay slips and all of those things, you can give them
Yeah, I
access to the
remember.
software. Sorry, instead of
As I played,
waiting,
I remember. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, waiting for your pay slip at the end of the day, you can have an app that will give you access to your pay slip, so you know what you're being paid right there and then, instead of having to go to call HR and find out and all those kind of things. And I think the most topical one now is making tax digital. I'm sure a lot of people have heard that. Even the HMRC is trying to make tax digital, and making tax digital is basically being that. Those days we used to carry boxes of shoe boxes of receipts. They don't want that anymore. No more shoe boxes of receipts. When I started in practice, we had a staff dedicated to pasting receipts on plain paper. The person is not posting it, the person just putting it in date order, pasting it on paper, and then passing it on to the person that are going to do the bookkeeping, and then the bookkeeper then pass it on to the accountant. All of those things have been eroded. There's no need for
Mm,
all that because with softwares like all the bookkeeping software, Zero, QuickBooks, you can have access to your bank and you can have real time transaction. You can see what is happening, a snapshot of your business, so to say. Because if it takes you 1 week to paste paper receipts on paper, another week for you to put it in data, to put it on the software, another week for the accountant to review it, they can see you don't have real data. But with technology now, with QuickBooks, you can have access to your bank directly, or even if you want to do the old way receipt, you can still capture your receipt. So you can just open up your software and see how your business is doing. So if, for instance, let's take a typical example of what Tom was saying about a lot of startups needing funding. because funding is limited. So they obviously want to make sure that there's a tight deadline. How do you want to know what to submit as your profit and loss or your balance sheet if you're just preparing everything at once? But if you have your real-time information, even if deadline is tomorrow, you can quickly put it together and send the funding application and kind of meet the deadline. So it's really, we cannot overestimate the power of technology in giving us real-time information in accounting. Also, we all talk about remote working, but really what it does is that it increases productivity because work-life balance is better. So we don't waste time again on commuting. So you can imagine if before COVID, it was trying to say, especially as an accountant, because it's kind of accounting and finance is based on trust. So I have to
Yeah.
kind of have a relationship with you for me to kind of engage you, because you are really into my information. I know all your data, even planning, then I'm kind of telling you my story or my issues, So that means we tend to meet with clients often. So you can
Yeah.
imagine if I have 4 clients meeting in a day, that means I have to go from maybe say Liverpool Street to Regent Street to whatever. But I don't have to do all of that anymore. We can either meet in teams. I can have meetings back to back. So that increases my productivity. So I can do much more in a day because of technology. You can also look at it from the fact that even our talents, I don't have to limit myself to a good accountant in London because we are on the cloud and the person can work from anywhere or even outside the country. So it opens like cross-border opportunities. So
Absolutely.
I could be sitting down in India and be reviewing an account. It doesn't really matter, and I can have clients too across borders. It doesn't have to be only London or only UK. We can. So it kind of like makes it very. Another thing it helps do is integration of systems. So we have like in supply chain, you have different stages of counting. So you have the bookkeeping bit, then you have the account production, then we have maybe another software that sends to HMRC, another one that sends to company house and all that. But with technology now, all those companies come together and they can integrate them. So there's a seamless integration between your data entry software to your account production software to your submission software. And and then we even have those that can then archive it for you. It's all based on technology. And then, even with this, our receipts, 7 year, for instance, according to regulation, we're supposed to keep our receipt for 7 years, but with technology. And you realize that after some time, no matter how much you keep it, you could keep them, but the ink starts fading. But once you have them, the soft copy, that trouble is no more there. You can, even if they want to ask for it in 20 years, you have it because it won't fade. So there's so many ways where technology has really helped us, has helped accounting, helped finance. So I'm talking from practice point of view now, because Uma is more in the industry, but from the practice point.
Yes. I
Yes.
must
So
admit, Toyosi, it's very great what you were saying that real time you can see the information. Our sales we could, but the person who reported into me had his own ways of doing things. And I didn't want
yeah,
to rock the boat and
yeah,
create a culture issue. So, however, I did lay it out on the papers how the thing can be made efficient and real time is what I was moving towards. So it's great. And even with the current, there's a person who, for a charity where I work, I was just mentioning to him that things can be done more. He is a technology person, and so he should be able to deal with it. And real time is what I because if he doesn't, because especially charities, they do it in their free time, and if they don't get around doing it, they don't update it. So
yeah. And then, so moving on, even technology has helped us in the sense of capturing our data. We use Tedbree system, and it really helps us manage our contacts, our leads, our generation. So even it helps us in our marketing. So which is kind
oh,
of
good.
out of our sector or how to, but we know the leads, the prospect, people that come to our website, even the website, for instance, it's technology, right? Instead of me having to go to every BNI meeting, I could, not that BNI meetings are not good, but my website could do the work for me while I'm sleeping. So, the website was there where and people could see what we're up to, and then they can book a meeting and all those kind of things. And we can send emails. Before I came across Tedbree, we used to send our emails manually. So if I want to send to all my clients, for instance, I have to put all the emails one after the other. But with the system, the CMS, you can just kind of have a compilation of your contact, and then
Your
you can
leads
categorize
and
them,
send
and you can
them.
do, a lot of things, you can do with technology. If not for technology, where would we be? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
where there's still a lot we can do, which we can come to later, Tommy. So I think
Yeah,
Tommy has a
yeah,
question.
It
yeah.
is
Absolutely.
very interesting. I must meet up.
Yeah, it's just I was just listening to you and I'm like, there are even some things I haven't thought about that you definitely mentioned because technology has been it's made even the rise of fintech is because of technology. So back in the days where everyone has to queue up at the bank. God, I cannot go to any bank anymore. It's not possible because it's just, remember when we have to queue up at the bank, even in the
Yeah.
rain, just because you want to take a little money, or you have to
Mm-hmm.
always go to the ATM to take money. Right
Yeah.
now, I could go months without saying cash. This is the things that technology has done, and it's
Yeah.
just people
So,
are thinking.
just not, yeah, not to cut you short. Something happened to me during COVID. I had a check. Someone posted a check. Someone that is still kind of not, really techie, but the person posted me a check. And I was thinking, in COVID, how am I supposed to go? And then they had very limited hours. I think they were opening at the time, maybe 1 hour a day and all that. So I just called my bank. I don't know why I did. And then they said I could actually pay the check on my phone.
Yes,
I was
yes.
like,
Now those
wow.
things
Are
can
you
be done.
serious?
Yeah,
Yes.
on the phone
Yes.
they can also done, or laptop they
Yes,
can
I took a
do
picture
that.
of I took a picture of the check, and then they asked me one question, and that was it. And I saw the credits in my account. So that's technology from another
That's
angle.
really, yeah. They have
Yeah.
really advanced.
So it's going wild. It's going like wildfire in the
Yeah.
accounting and finance sector, especially in finance. It's like
Mm.
you blink, there's another fintech opening up. And there was something that happened last week, and I think that this is just, I know this has nothing to do with accounting and finance, but this is just telling us what technology has done. A company, a young guy created, of course, he really worked very very hard and created a very creative tool called Figma.
Hmm.
And in 2011, 2012, they started to trade with Figma. Just how many years ago? That's 10 years. As at last week, Figma was bought by Adobe, which was a company that was there before Figma even came out, for $20 billion. And
Wow.
all of this is happening just because of technology. Because
Hmm.
the only way we use Figma is online. We use Figma online, or we download it onto our desktop and have the desktop application. But it's grown like wildfire using the cloud-based Figma. And all of a sudden it's become the most favorite tool by every designer. It's come to it came from the back and then just came to the front. And it kept
Hmm.
advancing just because of technology. So all of these are just mind-blowing things that technology is making us see. But let's try and stick to, so I could see someone has if you have a question, we'll come to your question soon. So keep putting in your questions in there and we'll begin to ask questions pretty soon. Don't forget the leaderboard. I will refresh in a minute and let you know who's up. We still have the same person up. Overtake her, please.
Mhm.
Okay, so I think right now that you guys have mentioned quite interesting things. So Uma mentioned how technology has helped in making things meetings real time, allowing you to collaborate faster regardless of what country. Toyosi mentioned a few things about even the government in itself. HMRC is making tax digital. It's now
Hmm.
compulsory. It's not even an option. If you don't know how to do it, it's by force. You must know how to do it and submit your tax online. And
Hmm.
from what we're seeing, data is showing that by 2030, the amount of jobs that are going to be converted from, the physical to digital is going to be over 30 million. There will be over 30 million people that need to retrain to understand how to use technology to help them, pretty much with their jobs. And I know that we're seeing that within the accounting and finance, seeing that in all other sector. What else are you saying that is coming in the future that you probably noticing right now that might happen within the accounting space, or is something that is already happening, but we are not noticing, but maybe you are seeing a glimpse of it? Because there are quite a few things that are coming to my head that I can see happening within the accounting and finance sector. That will be technology empowered. I don't know if you guys are thinking of anything like that.
Yeah,
Or
well, I would like to say, well, in the planning side, I didn't bring that into account because in the organizations where I worked, planning could have been done on a spreadsheet. It wasn't needed it. But in large or complex organizations, and when you have to submit, it's already there, sort of a platforms for planning. And where, because when several spreadsheets come and you keep revising it, keeping version control is a problem, knowing which ones to integrate of the several versions from various departments. So all those clarity is there, and also it's driver based. I, for decision making purposes, planning purpose, I used Excel to produce the what if analysis scenarios and drivers. Now it's very good to have it on, having it, because it was the cost was the main reason for the companies that I was associated with. But now you can easily have it on softwares. So long-term planning and to short-term planning all aligned together, rolling forecast, it's already there. But that means not just planning for within a year, but going beyond a year, which is quite tough because things are changing so much and you can't anticipate everything and having scenario planning. But they are doing that now. So that's, and the softwares are there out there for that. And machine learning is another one. But how machine learn, because machine learning looks at the past, whereas
Mm.
the financial planning, when you do it, you look at what's going to go forward. You can't depend on the variables on going backwards, looking at backwards, and machine learning learns from backwards. So I need to understand a bit more on that front. But that's then blockchain.
Yeah, but Omar, based on machine learning, can't you use the results of the past to predict what is happening in the future? What could happen
Mm-hmm.
in the future, like set a trend? So if I say, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
we have customers and we have recurring billing, and my turn rate is quite low, and then
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting, I have this. Let's say we have 1,000 customers, the churn rate of 10%, because you could look back and see that, okay, in the last 12 months, there've only
Mm-hmm.
been like a 10% churn rate. So if we predict that and say in the next 2 years or in the next
Mm-hmm.
years, if we have the same level of churn rates, you
Mm-hmm.
know, what this is probably what you're going to be making. And based on inflation calculation, based on the expansion you're about to do, this is the possible valuation or possible cash flow that you should be expecting. So I'm thinking, so the reason why I said that is
Mm-hmm.
uh, in as much as machine learning allows us is something in the past, it could also help us in the future. Wouldn't you say so?
That's a good point. However, people's behavior has changed, even subscription based.
True.
Netflix was one that has got affected. They
Yeah,
thought it was.
absolutely.
So things can change, and things are changing because things are changing a lot. The dynamics, that past is not a predictor of the future is coming out more. But
Yeah,
yes, it is one. It is good, but because of these sort of things, that there are other things kicking in, behavioral changes due to various other factors. You you really can't go by purely by what happened in the past.
I hear you, and yeah, you got me with the Netflix, because then that's something that we thought was extremely strong, but then I could see they're losing millions of customers, quarter by quarter, based on that tiny high prices. So I get, yeah. So
Certain, there is a place for this. For example, when it comes to medical, non-financial things, try to understand this. And they say machines are much better than humans. When they teach the machine what to look out for and things, they're detecting illnesses very quickly, much better than doctors, specialists can. So there is a place for that, definitely.
absolutely. I mean, I think it's not because well, they're smart, but it's more of the fact that they make less errors.
They
So
make less errors, large amounts.
yeah,
Their speed in the speed in computing
yeah,
power and handling large amounts quickly is.
it is impressive. Yeah. So Chelsea, I'm quite interested in what do you see
Okay.
happening in the future?
Okay. I think a number of things. As in, with introduction of tech into accounting, is going to make accounting more interesting for the next generation of accountants, because as we are going older with the paper one, it was almost becoming like going extinct, accounting as a profession, where you don't see young people going into accounting. Like you say, oh, do you want to do accounting? No, 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 no. Why would I want to do that? Why would I want to be an accountant? I've seen behind the computers. But with this, with technology merging into accounting, you can see that the young ones will then start getting interested in it again. So they then come on from the fresh ideas of bringing technology into accounting. So that's one way that the future of accounting. So with technology going to help us attract the next generation of accountants. Uma mentioned something about financial planning, but where technology will help is in like what you said to me about scenario planning. So it would
Mm.
then give you, so like if you're doing Excel, there's a limit to how many things you can put in there, how many variables. But with the technology, you can then put different factors, as many as you want. And it can even tell you even things you cannot think of, like inflation, or it can even do it multiple. Like, sometimes you have just one variable changing at once, but with technology now you can put many variables changing at the same time. So let's
Yeah.
assume inflation is going up, I lose an employee, or I have to employ a manager, and you put all those things. is technology going to help us? Another thing again is automation of processes. Like what you say about,
Mm,
right now, for instance, if I put in a company name, it will extract all the data, the registration number, the VAT, and all of those things. So I think a lot of times now there'll be more automation
yeah.
of processes. So some of the things we're even doing now that we still have to check, maybe the bank feed, And one thing I think is going to happen for accounting is it's going to help us in data is I think there's going to be a link with whether all the bodies or all that. So once if I put, for instance, Tedbree, right now it's only what I link it to. But I think a time will come in accounting where if I put Tedbree like almost like a set box, it will pull out everything Tedbree will have in the world, like
Mm,
a global database. So
yeah.
I think that's going to happen. And
Yeah.
so that way, it's not going to be like, oh, I've reported one account, I didn't report one account. It's
Yeah.
almost like now when you put someone's name at, I think that's what they do in like embassies and all that. They pull up your name and everything comes out about you. So I
Yeah.
think
It's
a
like,
time will
like
come
going
where
to
even
Very
if
good point.
yeah. It's like going to the GP and seeing your
sorry,
entire health history. The,
exactly.
Can
So I
I
think we're
just
going to have
jump
something like that
in?
for business.
yeah.
Yes.
Toyosi, I was mentioning that an organization I was working for, we had to analyze the
Yeah.
members are viable and all those sort of things. So we had to look in so
Okay.
many different places to collect information and so forth to assess it. Now the computer can do was now the computer scrapes the information from all the various
Yeah.
sources to pull the information about that company together. So it's
Mhm.
already built.
Yeah, it's already happening, but now I think it won't go beyond the borders. So it won't be just like, okay, this is just Tedbury UK. So if Tedbury has other assets or other liabilities or other information from other countries, I think a
Mhm.
time will come where there'll be synchronization and everything will come together. So it comes up and everything, and I think it will just help,
I
whether
agree.
in
I
reporting.
totally agree. But we also had that, like companies' house. There is another. We were subscribing to another software piece where it pulls in more information. It pulls in all the connections, all the subsidiaries that a company has, all the other holding company it has, so all the
Oh,
relationship and directors. It has more information you can glean from that than you can get at a fingertip than
Yeah.
company's house.
yeah, absolutely. And what you just mentioned, Uma, there'll be more and more of that, like Teos is mentioning, in terms of right now, not only is technology helping in accounting, but technology is helping cross the border. So it's
Yeah.
basically opening up the global world. So if
Mhm.
you say that, and that could be a good thing or a bad thing, it means that we might pay more taxes.
Yeah. No, this piece of software will pick up all the companies in other parts of the world, but we can't, dig into that easily. That's the thing.
Right.
That's the issue that,
Okay.
yeah, analysis stops, and because it takes time as well, we are up against speed. So,
Exactly. And I think what you're saying, it just makes sense because imagine, was it 10 years ago that the UK government invested into the gov.co.uk site? Remember before what we used to do? Everything was in sync. Right now, your NI, everything is in sync with your
Mhm.
corporation tax, your VAT, you're like, everything just goes to the same. Even if you have a trouble with the law, you still go to .co.uk to pay.
Yeah.
So it just feels like everything is just intertwined and all the systems start to talk to each other, more and more integrations, like you said. But is there a space for accounting and finance in the metaverse? Have you guys looked into that? Do you think there's any
oh, that's mind-boggling.
space?
Meeting. I have never been in a metaverse to be experiencing the effect of a meeting.
I will, but if I want to bank, because right now you could with the effect of blockchain and how technology is helping the unbanked get banked, people that are keeping money under the mattresses and things like that, now figuring out that it's not cash is your cash is useless. Becoming more and more cashless, but then as we move into the whole Web3, people are going into a whole lot of people are talking about Web3 now. I think there's a whole lot of hype, which I think lots of amazing things are going to happen in there. But you have companies like Goldman Sachs and Co. Looking into the metaverse already. I'm not sure what company. One of them has already. I don't know if it is it Chase? I forgot.
Chaseman, yeah, Chaseman had
Yeah.
a
One of them has already kind of like created the first digital banking in the metaverse. So I feel like we are still maybe 5 years or so into that kind of space where it
Mm.
becomes norm. But I feel there might be something happening around that sort of
Oh,
area.
that's interesting, Tommy.
Well,
I
interesting to
must
me.
I must speak to the banking people. I'll have a chat with them. But I really, what is it lacking that they need this metaverse for in banking? What does a customer
Well,
need?
if the world, right now we're paying, e-commerce is good and all of that, but we are all pretty much doing all of this on Web 2, as a claim. I don't know what web we are on. We're on one of the webs, and as we start to get into a completely different, decentralized sort of internet system, it feels like some other new services and tools have to be built, and some of them have to reinvent themselves in this world, and that's kind of what that sort of topic is all about. But
Um,
it's a new sort of thing. They can't do it alone. They have to take all 7 billion of us with them. So it's going to be a whole learning curve, but I think there's something that will be happening there. If you guys agree, let me know. If anyone has questions around that or more insight, say something within the chat. So,
Yeah. So I want to say something about that. I think, like we can't be ready for everything, but I think what is important, whether in accounting or finance or in any sector at all, is to be flexible. And I think that's where adaptability come in and being agile, being ready to go with the flow. So when the
yeah,
change comes, to be receptive and have an open mind to embrace it. I think that's what, because we can't possibly prepare for all the scenarios of whether Web3, and all of those things. So, but I think in accounting, we have to just have the mindset of being very agile and being very open minded so that as it comes, we embrace it and we move with the flow. That's what I think.
absolutely. Uma, you might want to unmute yourself, because I muted you when the call came in. Okay, so we have quite a few questions here, and I will start to put some of them on the screen for you guys to look at. I will go with the ones that have been voted the most.
Mhm.
Okay, so Uma, you need to unmute yourself. So let me show this. I think someone is already. Oh, someone is saying they're curious. Okay, so what new technologies are used in accounting and finance, and they're just curious. I believe Toyosi answered some of this, but I will let you guys take it from there.
Yeah, I think we've kind of, like we said, we mentioned, like, basically what we're doing now is really being in the cloud and getting real time information. That's what accounting is all about. And then syncing, having a seamless flow between different softwares. So we have the integration of different, and then that way, different aspects of finance can collaborate. So, if, for instance, I'm an accountant and you have a financial advisor, instead of packing your documents from one, there's a similar because I have a software, then I can maybe, like, what to do now, send the link to the person. And so, really, it's about the remote the integration of all the softwares and it being in the cloud where you can sign on from anywhere. So, it doesn't have to be, sometimes. A lot of so even the traditional software we had like Sage, Iris, even though they were online, but they were like desktop softwares. That means you have to be attached to a particular software, and then they just keep it in the drive. So I don't know those terms. Like they keep it like in the drive, and
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
have to get it from there and open it up. But now, because we use links more like now, so I can just come on to. So even if let's say I forget my laptop at home or for any reason I need to check something, I can still come on to Tommie's laptop. So I think basically because we're in the cloud, we can do that. That's what the most recent thing we have in accounting, and that kind of gives us real time
yeah.
information. But I guess
Yeah.
we'll also go with the line, and maybe for very soon it will be on our fingertips. It will be, you know,
You have something encrypted. Yeah.
yeah. And then I just enter, you see my data. Who knows?
Oh
But
no.
yeah,
I was
yeah.
actually at I think this was in Amsterdam, and I was at a digital summit in there. And funny enough, we're getting like microchips in there, and people were queuing up for that. I'm like, never. And we're getting like microchips into their hands, and it was meant to work with their phone, and I just couldn't get my head around that. So that was happening. That is happening right now. And this was like before COVID. This is like
Oh wow.
2019 when this happened. So lots of things are happening that we don't know about. And when you go to all of these tech summits and digital summits,
Mhm.
especially the ones in Europe, they are like crazy things that you start to see. Like there's like, oh, there's something else I saw, but that's a topic for another day. Let's bring let's bring another Uma, we can't hear you anymore. You need to unmute yourself.
Thank you.
Oh yes,
Thanks.
I can hear you
Yeah,
now.
that's good. I'm sorry about what happened there.
Yeah,
Um,
that's fine. There's another question here from Joshua Ojo. He says, how do you keep up with the new technologies within your sector and keep up with the learning curve on each of them? That's a very good question because the accounting and finance is one of the fastest growing industries within technology. How do you guys keep up?
well, if I were to start, when
Please.
I had that, I identified that there were several inefficiencies in one organization that I was working with recently, fairly recent, and I immediately said to my direct report, "Would you like to be trained? Because I would rather bring you in rather than sending the work out to consultants to deal with." And he, of course, was a bit he wasn't all that enthusiastic on it. So I went for exhibitions, and exhibitions is one, and secondly, the software companies, they conduct exhibitions, and I go around. And also my SEMA accounting body had one with all the modern technology, and especially for SMEs, which was, so I was really pleased because that was coming out with a lot of solutions that I was looking at. And I got all the context, ideas, followed up, and it all went into a piece of paper, into my paper, because at the moment some of them were too expensive for us. But when our sales grow and improve, then we can afford it and we will need it. Or if situation changes and we needed one person cannot, we have less, one person less, then we can still afford, then it makes it much more. But we are not the company, sort of, this organization was not the sort of organization which was cruel to its staff or unkind to its staff. So I couldn't bring about that immediately, but this was on the table. These things are around, and hence you can easily leverage, and it'll make you so much efficient, and
Nice.
you don't need
So
that much
I
staff.
like the fact that that also the accounting bodies like SEMA, as you mentioned, they're also keeping in touch with what's happening within the industry because that's their function, and making you guys understand that these are some new tools happening out there. And like you mentioned, exhibitions are very, very good because you get to see lots of demos of different things that are happening, and that allows you to keep in touch with what the trends are going on and start to see how that can help your organization one way or the other. So thanks for that.
Yeah,
There's another.
just
You wanted to answer
give
that as
like
well? Okay.
example of those exhibitions. Like in the UK, we have yeah, just to add to it, like in the UK, for instance, we have Accountex and Digital Accountancy Show. I think it shows around the Excel once a year. So it comes up with all the new, the fintech guys, all the new software. So it's something that if you are in accounting or finance, it's good to go from time to time just to see what is new on the market. And I think you've already mentioned the professional bodies as well. They help us. I mean, personally, I subscribe to tech news because I'm interested in tech. So sometimes in reading those tech news, I then discover something that, or the possibility of using it in accounting and finance. And also not limiting yourself, like what we're doing now, networking and collaborating with even other sectors will show you what can be possible in accounting. So, because sometimes we also suggest like feedback to our professional bodies. We also tell them this is what is happening. Why can't we have that in accounting? And then before you know it, by the time you come again for it might not be exactly the same thing, but they try and produce something similar to those kind
Yeah,
of things. Yeah, that's
that makes a lot of sense. Let's show this. I'm looking at the time. So this is Eswa is asking which components in finance and accounting world are the priorities for digital innovation or transformation. So basically, it's saying what part of your accounting can't you do without? What are some digital innovation or tools or things like that you can't do without? What components help you?
Financial accounting, bookkeeping is the first one I would go for, because financial planning, it depends on the size. Any SMEs need to get that accounting bit straightened, because that can easily be dealt with, and because there are APIs and all those sort of things to help you, if which are compatible, and you can do it very cost effectively. Then financial planning, in making it scenario analysis, aligning the strategic and operational plans together, and having, as Toyosi was mentioning, scenario analysis with multiple drivers, and that's very important, and all that. And also having, if it's a large complex organization, again, having them more, it's more the manual, you can eliminate a lot of manual work when it comes to larger complex organizations, and which has more impact, which are more impacted by the external world. There are some like the last organization, I wouldn't have touched on financial planning because they were consultancy based and they got their business mainly through contacts. So they were not much affected by what's going on. Of course, it helps them a lot because they were, for example, in the healthcare industry, where vaccinations and all those sort of things coming about, really, they would have helped their business. But in general, it's not much impacted as much as some others are. And real time data. That's another bit.
Okay, so there you have it. That's why I hope that answers your
So I
question.
would say,
Because
just to add to that.
okay, I'm
Okay,
just there's another more appropriate question that I think this is diverted to you,
okay,
Toyosi.
okay,
So Awao is saying, as a
okay.
startup founder, how can I digitize my books to enhance my business growth?
I mean, the first thing first, like Uma kind of alluded to, is to get a bookkeeping software. Be in the cloud yourself. Don't do paper. Once you have and then there are different price range. So there's software for startup, and then as you grow the price increase. So don't be scared, and you can just take on what you can afford initially, and then as you grow you add on to it. So there's different software, and there are even some free ones that you can start with, but they might just be, yeah,
I think
So
the
that
banks give some free ones, I heard, but they're not that good. But if for basics, they're okay.
So
yeah.
I think this is that alludes to straight goes into Kingsley's question. He's saying that what are some of those free tools that you guys are talking about? So do you want to give us like examples of those free tools that they can think of for accounting?
Yeah, I think for accounting, for instance, Wave used to be free in the UK, but I think they've time restricted it to only US now, or US and
Oh
Canada.
yeah, that's
So,
the way. Yeah, the invoicing
yeah,
system. That was
yes,
really
yes,
yeah,
yeah. But now I think you can't use it anymore in the UK, but you can still use it in US and Canada. In the UK, like Uma mentioned, some of the banks, for instance, free agent, if you have a NatWest,
first
and I think
account.
you have Royal Bank of Scotland, they give you their free software. And then I
Yeah,
think Lloyds had their own software as well, but they allow you to use it for either for the first 3 months or the first 6 months for free, and then you pay something marginal
yeah.
and all that. So
I
those are
think
the starting points.
Sterling Bank as well. Was it zero or something that they were giving away? Sterling Bank.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm.
So a lot of them give those kind of things. And then even moving on, I mean, most of the tools, they might not be completely free, but they're graded. You have to be careful to know the package you're on. So you don't have to be taking a big one if you're a small company. So they have things that can accommodate startups. So you're paying, although all those costs add up, but don't worry, they are taxable expenses. So it reduces your tax at the end of the day.
Exactly, exactly. So you guys, so sometimes it's not all about penny wise pound foolish. Because you don't want to pay upfront for some things, then you try to do things. Sometimes it's good to know what is like Chelsea just mentioned, what is expendable in your tax in your taxes at the end of the day. And so why not? If you know that it's not going to allow you pay too much taxes, then why don't you get your books in order, splash properly, get the right tools that can help you automate what is going on within your organization, connect your banks to it, have your bank feed within it. I'm saying that and I'm smiling. Um, and be able to get and be able to get real time information as they are coming on. So this is an insider joke. Okay, so let's go on to another question. I'll put this on stage. So Amarachi is asking, I think this is for you, Ma. Does technology help resolve the trust issues that come with accounting and finance, or does it make it worse? What do you think?
Shall I start?
Yes, please. That's
Technology, if it has got the proper financial controls, and that's very important. I have seen in certain places that, for example, they do a journal and then they go and overwrite the journal, and they can overwrite the journal, the figures, and there is no trail that what the original figure was, and that is a no, complete no. because you just don't know what has happened and why they did it. And anyone can change after you close it. And if you and after you close, for example, and another important control is after you close an account, you shouldn't be able to go back and alter that period. Everything is there, and anything has to be done in this. Any changes has to be done in a different period. So there are basic controls, and those controls has to be there. And provided all that's there, then it's and all the other things, all the financial controls, and are followed, then fine.
So in your opinion, so do you think technology has done more good than bad, or there are some things we need to still look out for within the whole technology? I
It
know you
is
talked
good,
about
but it provided the controls are there, because you can
controls
still
are there.
have it, and if you don't use follow the controls, you can't rely on what's in there.
Yeah. So it depends on what you put in there. You get what you put in. I think that's
Mm.
it. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So I'm looking at the time. So let's take we have oh wow, we still have 4 questions. Let's see how fast we could take this ones before we close out. How do you think so this is from Ade Banke. How do you think organizations should encourage their employee to embrace new technology? Very good question.
Oh, I
Okay,
can answer that easily, because I've had to do change management and organization wide. So it was not technology only, but that was one aspect. And obviously, it's always showing what is in it for them, for the employee, and they are and upskill them, make sure that they got the skills to provide business facing roles, change it to providing being a business partner. So that's one of the things that I focused on in several organizations. And what's in it for them has to be addressed as well. Show them a career path, show them how they can be a value-added person by doing that. And all this is tedious. And they can working from home is another example. So there are several ways in which you can do it, but it always has to be from having what is in it for me angle in
Yeah.
it.
I think Toyosi, you wanted to add to that.
Yeah, I just want to say basically one word that comes to my mind is training, 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 training. The staff have to be trained. Train them. And then also just in line with what Omar said about what's in it for them is when the staff, the employee, you carry along with the vision of the company or the organization. This is where we are as a company. We're a world-class business. We are forward-thinking and all that. Then your employees cannot be left behind. So you kind of have to sell the vision to them of where you want your company to be. And I think that way. So training them and in carrying them with the vision, you open their mind to opportunities and what technology can do. I think that's really how to ensure that
Yeah,
you can
yeah, absolutely. I
embrace.
agree with what you've both said. So this is an interesting question. Do you think organizations should reimburse employee who work hard to learn new technology?
Okay, I think what I would say there is that it depends. Is it has to be. I mean, even when I was working in industry, it has to be relevant skill and relevant knowledge. If it's relevant to what you're doing and it's moving what you're doing, but it's improving you from a level to the other, then you would. So let's assume, for instance, maybe when I was at City, I was in marketing. Me doing ACCA does not necessarily add value to my marketing role. But let's assume I was in internal audit, which is strictly accounting, and then I do ACCA, or I go to do an exam in taxation, like helping the taxation department. Then that is relevant skill and training. Then I think the organization should, because ordinarily they should train that person in that role. But if it's not relevant, then I don't think you should expect your employer to pay for it. So it's not just
Yeah,
any
have
technology.
a take on that question as well. I
Yeah.
feel like if you're going to take on something that you want your employer to reimburse you on, then it's something that you probably need to get approval from the beginning to be able
Yeah,
to
that's true.
say, saying a skill like this that's going to help me do this and do this in my role. And then the employer understands that this is
Yeah.
happening. But apart from that, I feel like every organization should have a way of training and retraining its staff, especially with new technologies and new processes. Because what really builds a business are the people, the systems, and the processes you put in place. So constantly doing people, process, and systems, and living buying new processes, I mean, sorry, adapting new processes or buying new systems without training the people doesn't allow the whole circle to work and then starts to leave some parts of the business. So I feel like many organizations will want to definitely pay and train its staff because it knows that the better trained you are, the more growth the organization would have. but then it has to be relevant training, like Toyosi mentioned. And to determine the relevancy, it's always nice to talk to the employer to know
Yeah,
that
maybe through
that's
your, so maybe through a process or personal development process, plan and all that.
exactly. So I know we've run. We are 4 minutes. So please just give me 3 more minutes, and we're going to close this out. We
Okay.
have this question. I think. What is the future of digital currencies in 30 seconds? Do you have any thoughts on that? I have my thoughts, but
I have my thoughts as well.
please go
Okay, so
go.
Well,
I'll
I
let you.
think
I'll
governments
get
would
you.
be very concerned that about because money laundering is a big issue. So as long as they can get all the things closed on that, then it's a possibility. And also their current, because their currency exchange, because they don't want to lose out on their exchange. And now it's a bigger issue, especially for UK now, but other countries had it before and still are having it. So they have an exchange control mechanisms, which they'd be very concerned about. So that is my thought on it.
Yeah. So it's a this is a topic on its own because it's huge and it's a big debate on what is happening. But I
Mhm.
think that there's a bright future, even though some especially as the market is right now, it doesn't seem so bright. For digital currencies, one because it allows us basically it's almost like English. We're all pretty much speaking the same language, and it allows us like regardless of where you are, it's borderless, and it allows us connect. That in itself is very powerful. The
It
fact that you
is.
do that in a millisecond, and you could build different exchanges and different systems on that pretty much framework on its own allows it to be very very exciting. And I can imagine what people are thinking and the amount of growth that could happen within that. But that being said, it has to be controlled. Money laundering is real. The fact that in the way the market is, one person is winning, but that means another person is losing. What is happening? How is this going to be controlled? Does it mean that it should be regulated? I don't know because it has its pros and cons. So I think there is a
And
future for
energy
it.
usage is another issue as well. I'm thinking all the
Yeah,
negatives, but
exactly. So yeah, it could be used in funding, good or bad. So we have to just look at it from different angles. And then the final question of the night before we close out and say thank you to our guest is from Ade Banken Nana. She said, what are the reasons that are driving digital innovation in finance and accounting?
I will
And
tell you
that's the
why I would have. Right from the career start, I automated everything right from my career as soon as I qualified because I had to bring the KPIs, management reporting systems to improve the business performance and sort out business issues. But my driver in all times is because it's such a boring thing, accounting. So I'd rather have it all automated for the sheer boredom. That's and the mundane and get people to do more value added tasks. So that's my
fantastic.
I
So
I would say, I
guys,
would
there
say, I
you
would say, I would
have.
say
Okay,
the
yeah,
driving
please.
force that increases efficiency. Doing more in little time, automating your process. So your efficiency is
absolutely.
being increased.
Yeah.
So why not? If not,
Exactly. It makes perfect sense to do that. So I think thank you so much, ladies, for being here this evening. I'll just give you a minute each, or let's say 30 seconds to a minute, to just close out on, you know, pretty much lets people know. I know you've told us who you are and what you do, and you've given us your thoughts on digital innovation and accounting and finance. But lets people know where to find you, lets people know what you are interested in, and the different other talks that you do, and pretty much any final words that you have for anyone out there that is looking at accounting and finance as an industry they want to get into. What would you say to them, especially with how technology is helping advancing that industry? So I'll start with you, Toyosi, on that.
okay. Based on everything we've said, we just know that the future of accounting is bright, and technology will definitely help it. So for everybody that is interested in accounting and finance, just to be open-minded. I'm a very flexible and adaptable to move with the trend. We can't be left behind. Even as a profession, accountants cannot be left behind. We have to kind of keep up with the. So that's what I say. So we need to keep ourselves abreast of what is happening. By, like we said, training. going for exhibition, exposing ourselves, networking, and learning from one another. I am also on LinkedIn as Toyosi Akinfemiwa. And if you find me on LinkedIn, you also find details to Elizabeth Roberts Accountant, which is the company in which I work. What else can I say? So thank you so much, Tommy, for having me tonight. It's been a pleasure. I've also learned a lot tonight and excited to be here. And I hope I'll be invited again soon.
Oh,
Thank you.
I was just about to ask you, when we invite you again, would you say yes? You
Yeah,
definitely be invited again. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us. I'll ask the same thing. So please just stay around for a
you're
little.
welcome.
Um, Omar, the same thing to you, please.
Yeah, I would like to say that when I started accounting, I just simply hated it. It was the most boring thing that I could ever stumble on. However, it has evolved and it's got much more interesting and is much more connected with the business, being a business in true fashion partner, making decisions on behalf of as well, taking on a lot of decision making capabilities and also the softer skills are another emphasis along with IT technology. So it's definitely moved a long way and it's evolved into a much more interesting place to be. So definitely it is something to look forward to train. And second, what I was going to say, you can find me on LinkedIn. I am there. And what I'm ideally looking for me, I would like to get into one particular organization and be with an organization, help them grow and be a co-pilot to a CEO and the senior management team. So that's what I'm looking for.
So
That's
that's more of
and
like
I'm
a
hoping to be here next time as well, invited to me. And I promise you, I will remember to shut my mobile down, phone
don't worry, you're not banned for that.
down.
Thank you so much for coming, and I hope that the next time we call you, that you will definitely say yes. It's been an interesting session with you. So there's something I didn't say. So while I was growing up, when you ask me what do you want to become, I would say an accountant. And I went ahead, started to do ACCA. I did the first 12. It was okay. By the time I was doing the second, I'm like, what is this? How boring is this?
So why did you want to become accountant? Because you thought accountants count money, right?
No, exactly. I just thought, oh, money, you're close to money. Tommy, go for accounting.
Exactly.
And so I saw it. I'm like, nah, 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 nah. No, this girl hasn't got time for this. So, but we watched it
So you
happen.
did well anyway, Tommy. You did well.
Oh, yeah. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Yeah, I think if you look at it like accounts can be boring, but if you look at it from the point of helping businesses and helping people grow, then it doesn't become boring
That's
anymore.
yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, that's where you get the real
Exactly.
joy.
I think then I was just much younger, so I was just all I was after was okay, what is it? But now looking at it, maybe I'll have been one of the fintech big girls out.
Exactly.
That sounds very interesting.
So, guys,
Okay.
thank you. It's been an exciting session, but we can't close this without saying the name of the leader of on our leaderboard. So this lady could not be dethroned. She was really determined, and so congratulations to Tinuola. Tinu led the board from the beginning, and she closed the night with 838. Sorry,
Oh
800
wow.
points. The second
Well,
person, like
well done,
that's
Tino.
the second person, there's like a almost 400 points gap. So I think everyone just kind of like gave up.
Mm.
So well done, Tinu. I can see Razak Banjo, you raised your hand. Do you want to say something? If yes, I can bring you on quickly before we go on. I will just hand him the mic. Razak, did you want to say something? You're on stage. Okay, I think that must have been an error. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining today. Tino, congratulations. We'll send you your win. And thank you to all our guests. I think it's been an exciting time. I hope you guys agree with me. Getting to understand digital innovation in accounting and finance. And we've been doing this in different industries, and we'll carry on doing this to enlighten people on the changes and the drastic innovations that are happening within different industries that leveraging technology is basically impacting. My name is Tommie Edwards, and I'm your host today. And I've had an awesome time. Thank you to everyone that joined us. Thank you to the people listening, and thank you to the people watching online. Until next time, where we're going to have another amazing guest, and we're going to be talking about digital innovation in a completely different industry. Stay tuned and listen to what we are trying to say, and hopefully you'll be able to get one or two things from there. Until next time, stay blessed, and I'll catch you guys soon. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you
Thank
for
you,
having
Tommy.
us.
It was such a wonderful event. Well,
Yeah, thank you.
well put
Bye,
together.
Uma.
See
Nice.
you, Toyosi.